Hey, I'm Ray, and welcome to Sober Without God, where we talk about deconstructing from the faith and sobriety. Well, today we're talking about deconstruction. And last time we covered a topic that no one likes to talk about: shame. And it may remind you of the scene from Game of Thrones where Queen Cersei was walking through the kingdom, and there was a religious figure walking in front of her, ringing a bell and yelling, "Shame, shame," after she had committed an indiscretion, and the whole town was jumping in and they were joining in and they were yelling, "Shame, shame." See, no one likes to think about shame. Well, we're going to keep talking about shame today. And hopefully you will enjoy this discussion today, or it'll ring a few bells for you. But it's not a great topic, let's be honest. We like to focus on positive things like wealth and health and optimism and happiness, but a lot of us are carrying around shame, and we've been carrying it around since our childhood. But we have to deal with shame if we want to focus on and get to a place of happiness and balance in our lives. And the last time we talked about shame and substance abuse and how shame leads us to a path of substance abuse. But today we're going to focus about how religion can cause shame in our lives. I want to say first that my experiences come from my point of view. I am not a qualified health care professional when it comes to substance abuse or religious trauma. And if you need help, I'll leave some links below if you're dealing with either issue. So, religion tells us, especially Christianity, that we are born sinful or bad or evil or with a seriously flawed nature, only to be made good by a blood sacrifice from Jesus. And if that doesn't work, other religions will tell you that you need to live a life of penance or peace or near perfection. And I've had people tell me, well, Christianity's not like that. Maybe you grew up in a different form of Christianity. No, no, I grew up in Christianity, a fundamentalist form of the Baptist faith that that I know and I grew up in, and I pastored a church for over 10 years. And every Bible tract that I have ever picked up has in it proof that there is shame in Christianity. And a Bible tract, you may have seen, exists in churches. You may find them in men's bathrooms or in the mall, or someone may have come to your door and handed one to you. And they all have what's called the Roman Road. And I got this one online. I don't know if you can see it or not. But the Roman Road is basically a bunch of verses from the book of Romans written by Paul. And it starts with bad news. See, if you know, have you ever had anybody ask you, do you want the good news or the bad news first? Well, Christianity, as far as Bible tracts go, are very much a bad news first kind of deal. And this starts with bad news. And it follows the Roman road. And I'm going to do Christian's job for them. And I'm going to show you how they evangelize and show you how the shame works. But they start with the idea that you are born a sinner. And it starts with Romans 3:10. And it tells you, is anyone perfect? And it says in Romans 3:10, as it is written, there is no one righteous. No, not one. So you're not righteous. And then it says, are there any exceptions? Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. So you are a sinner. Everyone is a sinner. There are no exceptions to that rule. Where did sin come from? And in Romans 5:12, to summarize, it says, through Adam, sin entered the world, and we're all guilty because the first man, they say the first man was Adam. He sinned, and his sin spread to everyone in the entire world. So you don't have a chance. Sin is in you from the moment of your birth. What do we deserve for our sin? Romans 6:23. So what do we get because we sin? Well, you get a death sentence. The wages of sin is death. You're going to die. You're going to die in eternal death because you are a sinner, says Romans 6:23. Who paid the price? Well, here comes the good news. The good news is starting to come finally. So bad news, now good news. Romans 5:8. God commandeth his love toward us, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. So you can't do anything. You're a sinner. You're going to die because of your sin. But good news, Christ died for you. And finally, how do you get out of this situation? Romans 10:9 and 10. if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord. So if you make Jesus the Lord of your life, if you become his servant, and you believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, then you shall be saved. That is the Roman road. And then always at the end of the Roman road, there is a prayer that you can say to ask Jesus into your heart and make him the Lord of your life. Lord, meaning you will be his servant for the rest of your life. So there's shame for you right there. And shame is incorporated into the Roman road right away. Good news or bad news, good news. Bad news is shame, you're guilty, you have a death sentence upon you. Good news, there's a way out. It's through the blood sacrifice of Jesus Christ. All you have to do is make him your Lord. By the way, thank you for being here today to listen to my talk about shame and religion so far. We're going to keep going, but I just want to ask you, if you have 2 seconds, just please hit that like button. It's greatly appreciated to help my community grow. And if you have a couple more seconds, just make a comment and say, hey, I like what you're doing here. It would really help my little growing community out a lot. The Bible and our pastors and our Christian religion devalue us, and they preach to us how sinful we are and how we're evil from the start. Do you need more proof? Well, I have more proof for you. The hymns that we used to sing in church, and there's still hymns out there that we sing in church. At the Cross, a song that we used to sing in church, the original lyrics said, alas, and did my Savior bleed, and did my sovereign die? Would he devote that sacred head for such a worm as I? There's some shame for you right there. You're a worm. There's a song called There Is a Fountain Filled with Blood. The dying thief rejoiced to see the fountain in his day. So the dying thief is the one, there was a thief next to Jesus on the cross while he died. So that's the dying thief. The dying thief rejoiced to see that fountain in his day. And there may I, though vile as he, wash all my sins away. You're just as vile as the man who was crucified right next to Jesus Christ. More shame. Shame upon shame. One more. Jesus paid it all to him I owe. That's another song that we used to sing in church. For nothing good have I, whereby thy grace to claim. I'll wash my garments white in the blood of Calvary's Lamb. It starts off right there. For nothing good have I. I have nothing good, that hymn says, and many other hymns just like it. I have nothing good that I can offer Jesus. The only good thing in this world that could ever possibly happen to me is Jesus. That's the shame-ridden, guilt-ridden religion of Christianity. Religion is just covered with messages of guilt and shame. You are created by a God who made you a sinful creature, and the only thing you can do is hand yourself over to the same God who sacrificed his own son to himself and serve him for the rest of eternity. One of my favorite quotes comes from Christopher Hitchens, and I'm going to read it to you. He said, how moral is the following? I am told of a human sacrifice that took place 2,000 years ago without my wishing it, and in circumstances so ghastly that had I been present, I would have been duty bound to try and stop it. And in order to gain the benefit of this wondrous offer, I have to accept that I am responsible for the flogging and mocking and crucifixion in which I had no say and no part, and agree that every time I decline this responsibility, or that I sin in word or deed, I am intensifying the agony of it. Further, I am required to believe that the agony was to compensate for an earlier crime in which I had no part, the sin of Adam. You are guilty for your sins in which you were born but had no say. A blood sacrifice which you weren't around for, the rejection of the offer of that sacrifice, and you will go to hell if you don't take Jesus into your heart. More shame. And that's just one world religion we covered. The message from church works the shame angle too, doesn't it? Keep these commandments. Do this. Don't do that. And if you do, you'll spend eternity in hell. Oh, and by the way, there's a God who's looking over your shoulder 24/7, and he knows your every thought. He sees your every deed, and he's right there watching you. Every breath you take, he knows everything. He sees everything. and he's waiting for you to do something wrong. Imagine growing up with that. Can you imagine what a lifetime of shame like that might do to a person? I can. This guy can, because I lived through it. Oh, but people will say you need to balance that out with the grace and love of God. But any system that has to devalue a person is not a system worth being a part of. Self-worth and value come from within. And if you aren't valuing yourself, no one will. Listen, you are enough by yourself. You don't believe me? Well, try an experiment next time something happens in your life. Don't pray about it. Just take your own initiative, take matters into your own hands. Better yet, I heard someone say one time, pray to an object. Just don't pray to God. Pray to something in your house. Pray to a tree. Pray to a microwave. See if it makes any difference that you said a prayer at all. Get that shame out of your life. Try life without an authoritarian figure watching over you and see if it makes a difference. We do not have to live with guilt and shame in our lives. We always have a choice. You are enough. I will see you next time. And if you need help, check out the link below for recoveringfromreligion.org or seek the help of a qualified counselor. Take care.